Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another fantastic episode on the Unleashing Potentials podcast. My name is Bernadette Desir, and I'm your host. And joining me today, all the way from somewhere in the States, is Miss Laura. Yeah, you tell us, where in the States are you?
Oh yeah. So I live in the Hudson Valley, which is if you go to New York City, people say things like, "Oh, I'm going to go upstate for the weekend." They come to the Hudson Valley most of the
Oh,
time. We're not really upstate. New York is a really big state. We're kind of like in between,
yeah, yeah.
but it's really beautiful. There's lots of farms and trees and
Yeah.
we actually this is not the point of our conversation today, but when we moved into this house, we moved in during swarm season when all the honeybees were out looking for
Oh,
their next
yeah.
homes. And we actually had a colony of bees establish themselves in part of our roof
Oh, wow.
right after we moved
Yeah.
in.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So that was a really powerful learning experience.
Yeah, that will teach you a lesson or two.
Definitely.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, we were talking off camera, of how you think you know Canada, of how I think I know the states, which I don't. I know there's 50 states. I don't necessarily know the cities in each states. I just don't. We
That's
do
okay.
provinces here.
I am, a US citizen and I don't even know all of those. We have 50 states, we have some territories, there's a lot of gray area there. I
Okay.
feel sometimes like I mentioned to you before we started recording, my business
Yes.
partner is Canadian
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm often explaining things to her that are about the US by
Yeah.
saying things like, I mean, it's a big mess. So you kind of have to wrap your head
Yeah.
around a little bit of it at a time,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little bit
Yeah.
at a time. Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. You guys should do a home swap.
we should. We totally should.
You
Yeah.
get to learn, I don't know, the money there. It's very different from Canadian. I don't know if well, in some Canadian provinces, especially Quebec, they speak French and people have lots of accents. And I wonder if it's similar in the States too.
In the States,
Probably.
yeah, there are a lot of different regional accents. There's lots of words that you would use. Like I grew up in North Carolina, and there's a lot of phrases you would use in North Carolina, but not in the Midwest, which is where my parents are from,
Oh, okay.
you
I've been
know.
to Texas. I went to a McDonald's to order food. I did not understand what the lady was saying. She was speaking English. It's just the way she was saying it.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was admired by it because I'm like, huh. She's like, what? What's your order? And I'm just listening.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah,
totally.
very
Yeah,
cool.
it's a big place. But yeah, Bay is my business partner. She and I run our podcast. It's called West of Wonderland.
Oh,
And yeah, West of Wonderland is basically our joint venture. We're both leadership coaches. We've been doing it
mhm.
about the same time, 12 or 13 years. And the
Yeah.
podcast is essentially the place where she and I both mix together our thoughts on personal development and leadership and coaching as they come out in our favorite books and movies and stories and stuff like that. It's a lot of magical
Ooh, so
media.
whimsical.
Hmm. Yeah, whimsy is right.
Oh wow,
Hmm.
that's awesome. Yeah, you already told us about your podcast, which I was going to ask more about. Tell us a little bit more in detail and how you and your partner started this journey.
Oh, sure. So I met Bay, my Canadian counterpoint. I met her through our coaching community. So, like I said, I've been coaching for over a decade now. And so I've been a coach full time in private practice for that entire time. And for a long period of that time, I was also working as a trainer of coaches at a coach training company.
Oh,
And yeah, it was through that community that I met Bay.
mhm.
And, we got sort of paired up. I think people were like, "Oh, you guys both like Disney. You should hang out." And so we
Yeah.
did, and we discovered we both love Disney, we both love coaching, we love magical things. We also discovered we share a very magical birthday, which is August 8th, 8/8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we are
Soulmates.
exactly yeah, we're exactly 8 years apart to the day on August 8th.
Wow. Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yes. I love crazy. Tell me more.
Yeah. Well, part of what was also really fun about that was we had a couple of years of kind of just being business besties. Like we would
Mhm.
have a Zoom every week and connect and talk because, she's in British Columbia and I'm on the East Coast. So we would just have this little
Yeah.
meetup. And then we were like, oh, we should really work together. But we didn't really
Mhm.
know what form it should take. So we started the
Mhm.
podcast in 2021, just kind of
Mhm.
as a way to create something consistently and experiment and kind of find our voice
Yeah.
together.
Yes.
So yeah, it'll be our podcast third birthday this August.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah, I think I started
Thanks.
in not 2020, yeah, I don't know, way before that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was tossing around ideas and seeing what I wanted to talk about. I'm like, there's no way I can talk about one thing because I've experienced everything. So, yeah, I love hearing stories like that. I don't know if it's me or people, but I have a very hard time working with people who's not in the game, like people who's not hungry, don't
Uh-huh.
have a vision or purpose. Yeah, maybe it's just me. So I'm happy you're
Yeah.
sharing your experience. Yeah, because for
Oh,
me, it's
thanks.
not, I'm not looking for fame. If it comes, I might hold on to it for a bit and do good with it, but I'm looking for hungry people. So
I
I
know.
love
I
that you
love,
two are hungry.
yeah, I'm really happy hearing you say that because I think I'm definitely the same way.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I feel really proud of myself that part of where I am, both with the podcast, but also with the rest of my business,
Hmm.
it is for hungry people, and it's
Yeah,
been created from my hunger.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, that's really awesome.
yeah, yeah. So do you have guests on your podcast as well?
Every once in a while, we don't usually have guests. Most of it is me and Bay kind of like digesting things and working things out,
Oh,
especially because we just started doing some drop in trainings for coaches.
ooh.
So, yeah, there's like a
Okay.
curriculum being developed.
Oh, wow. Look at you guys
Hmm.
go. Go girls.
Thanks. We're hoping
That's
to have our
awesome.
first retreat this year.
Mm.
We did a training a few months ago for coaches that was themed on wishes.
Ooh,
Yeah, and
cool.
it's in the coaching industry, coaches are kind of trained to avoid the concept of wish
Hmm. Yeah.
because it's very childish.
Hmm.
And I mean, I get it as a coach trainer, like most of the job of a coach is helping to activate the personal power of your client.
Yeah.
So often I think adults think about wishes as sort of like, oh, it's totally out of my hands. Oh, an abdication of power or ownership or hunger or, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I already outed us as like total Disney
Yes.
people. We totally love the sort of like misty eyed wistfulness that happens if you
Mhm.
really tap into wishing as a
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the kind of angle that we're starting to
Hmm.
thread.
Yeah. Oh no, I love it. I love it. I think as adults we forget how to play. For me, I don't know. I'm still a kid at heart, and I'll always be because I choose to be. And I think it's a choice to smile, to dream, to play. And yeah, I think it's needed, especially within the line of work that you both do, because people are so serious that
It's so true.
yeah,
It's
there are
so
times
true.
to be serious and there are times to just live life. It's meant to be lived happily, not just grumbling and being so serious and all the
I
time.
know.
Yeah.
Well, what's also really cool is I find that with my own clients and with my own business,
Mhm.
I think the more fun that I've learned to have, the better everything goes.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah. And even like
Yeah.
having business strategy meetings and like thinking critically about how I want things to go or designing a launch or something like that,
Yeah.
the more that I let go of the seriousness of it and actually embrace a
Hmm.
spirit of play and playfulness and just
Yeah.
bring a little more vulnerability, a little more twinkle in my eye.
Yeah.
That's usually where things really click.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So what were you doing prior to doing the business that you're doing?
Oh, so I, right before I became a coach, I was really young when I started my business.
You're still young. You look young.
I know, I have a baby face. I'm 35, but
I'm
I do have a baby
34.
face. Are you really?
Mm-hmm.
I would
People
not
say
have
I look
guessed.
younger. How
Yeah, you
old do I
do.
look?
You look younger, but you have like a more mature presence than that.
I'm an old soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I would say
Like
that. Yeah.
literal, like I am. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I get the sense that like this is not your first time
Here?
here.
Oh
Hmm.
gosh. I've been here for a very long time and I keep coming back. So you are in the woo-woo spiritual stuff. They call it woo-woo. I call it woo-hoo.
Woohoo,
I'm
indeed.
into that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
because I was
totally.
telling you I was born open as a child and yeah, I love it. I've been here so many times. I keep
Wow. So what do
coming
you
back.
think? Um, yeah, what do you have? Feels like such a reductive question to saying something that amazing, but like, do you know what you're up to in this lifetime, this time around? Like, what's the rodeo, so to speak?
She just went for it, you guys.
I just want to know. It's our, we don't have to
Yeah.
talk about it if you don't want
Oh
to, but
no. Oh no.
I'm like super interested. Okay.
I've talked about anything and everything on the podcast. Um, yeah, I've had a few lifetimes. I'm a dragon, so my dragon color is healing. And that was way before I
Mm,
had a spiritual awakening. My logo is of water. I've been to an aqua world with lots of mermaids. That was way before I knew anything because I started the podcast way before that. But I think my mission is to learn to love myself and others.
mm,
You know how in society where we hate ourselves sometimes.
mm-hmm.
We don't say it out loud, maybe how we look, how we feel, what we've accomplished. I'm here to heal, to help people heal. That's why my logo is healing together and to
Mm.
awaken humanity
Oh, it's
because
so beautiful.
so many of us are walking around like zombies and
Yeah.
we don't access our gifts and power. We don't do it. If I could tell people how powerful they are, they'd be jumping up and down
Mm-hmm.
because there are so many souls that are waiting to have a body. There's this massive lineup of souls, and then we're here and we're not doing what we signed up to do, or we haven't found the purpose, or we're not awake yet. But that's
Yeah,
why I'm
gotta
here.
figure it out.
Yeah, I'm
That's
here to
so
heal.
powerful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about you? Have you tell me what you know?
Oh yeah. So, um, it's funny, the question that you asked me before actually kind of makes
Mhm.
sense for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before I started my coaching business, I was working in a cafe pouring beautiful lattes and having existential crisis after existential crisis. Because in my early 20s, I was just out of college and I was like, what do I do? And yeah, one of the other things that I was doing was teaching improv classes.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah. I, and the thing that really got me about teaching improv was you teach an intro to improv class, you
Mhm.
watch a bunch of adult people walk in on the first day,
Yeah.
and then you watch a bunch of like happy, playful children walk out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
You're
awesome.
literally just like teaching adults how to play again, and how to
Yeah.
accept that. And I just, I really loved watching the transformation and watching people learn how to like
Mm-hmm.
play and love, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember to this day, I had this one student who I think I must have given him a note during a class of like, hey, I noticed you tend to go negative. When we're playing, you tend to go to angry or
Mm-hmm.
sad. What would happen if you went for happy or joyful? Just try it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like, I was so scared by that because joy to me is like one of the
Mm.
scariest places to go. And I was like, dude, I totally, like totally get. But it
Yeah.
changed his life that I was willing to
Wow.
see that and to say that.
Yeah. Wow,
And
that's
so
powerful.
I know it is. I'm like, I remember that all the time when I worry that I'm like not having an impact or that what I do is stupid. I remember that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think one of the reasons why I'm here is to really be part of reminding people about their creative magic and the joy and
Yeah.
like that twinkle in their eye,
Yeah.
when they're like really in the zone.
Hmm.
And to come back to like how powerful we are when we are willing to play and be present and just
Yeah.
like bring all of who we are.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so awesome that you're talking about that and teaching it. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's kind
And
of crazy. Like in my line of work in like professional leadership coaching, for example,
mhm.
it's kind of counterculture to the point of like for many years, I feel like I kind of just had to pretend like I didn't see things that way. And now I've really like woken up to like, oh no, like not
Mhm.
only is that entirely me, but also I
Yeah.
realize how many people who are looking for leadership coaching are actually looking for that. Like
Yeah.
they actually need that permission to
Mhm.
like access their power through playing and
Yeah.
remembering that their imagination can do amazing
Mhm.
things. I will tell
Yeah.
you this summer I'm also I've been buddying up with a hypnotherapist.
Ooh.
She created this really cool 4 module program to kind of help people move through subconscious blocks in the way of being able to do things like this, like having their podcast or doing speaking
Yeah.
events or things like that.
Yeah.
And she wanted me to add some improv into it to kind of help with the integration of it, but also to
Mhm.
like actually teach people how to play in the moment again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we had a master class last night and I led this little game that I had made up, this improv game where it's not worth explaining the whole thing, but I will tell you right now, Bernadette, I had all of these grown people on Zoom pretending to be cats.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was hands down the
Yeah.
greatest Zoom I have ever been on. It was so great.
That's awesome. I have cats and I do that to them too. I meow and they're like, "What?" And
When
then
did
if
you learn
yeah,
our language?
yeah, and I pretend to be a dog. They're like, "Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
funny.
yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool."
I think it's
Yeah.
really healing too. Like just in the realm of like some more woohoo stuff to tell you about. One of the things that I've done recently was I participated in a dream circle that one
Mm.
of my friends led. Yeah. And we just had this like concentrated couple of weeks where we met once a week on Zoom. We did a
Mhm.
lot of like guided meditation together and ended up doing a lot of like actual co-dreaming.
Oh, that's
Hmm.
so cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, our
That's awesome.
imaginations are like really
Mhm. Yeah.
powerful. Hmm.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, yeah. So sounds like you've been tapping into your intuition and spirituality for a bit.
Yeah, I would
And
say that.
yeah, yeah. Um, what journey are you on? Meaning, what are you trying to access or co-create with other people that you meet?
Mm. Well, there's definitely a very intense, like a lot of where my hunger shows up
Mm-hmm.
is a very strong desire to create tangible things together,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know? So, um, whether that's making art projects or right now we're kind of in the early stages of forming a band around my
Yeah.
music.
Yeah. That's so
I feel
cool.
like, yeah, so much of it is like through my own joy and
Mm-hmm.
my own creative expression,
Mm-hmm.
bringing other people along so that they can also have their kind of creative rapture, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, wow. That's
Does
awesome.
that make sense? I've never
It
verbalized
does,
that
yeah.
before.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I wonder if you're Pleiadian. Pleiadian. It's a starseed,
Oh,
Pleiadian.
yeah.
Yeah, because there's different star seeds that does really, really, really good working with others, and there are some like me.
Wait, so what is the other I know enough about starseed to be a little dangerous, but like I don't know.
Pleiadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have blue eyes, blonde hair, tall.
Yeah. I have heard of them. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. What's
Yeah.
the other kind?
Oh, there's a bunch. I know there's Pleiadian, Octorian, uh, Draconian, which it would dragon, which is categorized under reptilians as well. Um, there's so many. Uh, Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah.
So let's talk about dragons for a minute.
Yes.
We're in the year of the dragon. I
Woohoo.
also kind of like on that same note, every year I do uh, a 12-month spread
Mm.
or with the Animal Spirit deck by Kim Kranz. And the
Mhm.
card I got for the whole year was actually dragon,
Oh, wow.
which is
That's
kind of
so
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Wow.
been kind of exploring that, but
Mhm.
you mentioned dragons earlier,
Yeah.
and it had a particular energy to it.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
us more. Tell us more about it.
Well, I'm still exploring and learning my journey. I do know I'm a dragon. Um, um, they're pretty big. Um, I've had a few people say I intimidation, not like in a, physical way. It's just how I carry myself, talk, what I know, how I talk. But they're pretty big. Their head size is probably the size of an airplane. So just
Whoa.
imagine the rest of the body. And they're very telepathic, very reasoning. They don't, I know for myself, even as a human in form, they don't really like conflicts. They seek peace and understanding with the universe and everybody, anything in it. And they just love and they protect.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah, dragons, they protect. You try to mess with one of their youngs. Yeah. What else do I know? Because yeah, I haven't seen much. I know my spirit guides, they showed me playing with a little toy dragon. So that's kind of how I've
Oh, wow.
over time figured out what I was. But yeah,
Mm.
yeah, and each of them have different colors. I know mine is turquoise, pink, purple, kind of
Ooh.
lavender, and I think a bit of gold in there.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. And they have languages, different languages they speak. Yeah, that's all I know
Huh.
so far. I'm still learning so much, but yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Have you
Mhm.
seen Raya and the Last Dragon?
Oh, I have. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
I've watched Merlin, and
Cool.
that was way before I knew any of this existed. And deep inside, sometimes when you feel something to be true, but somehow your ego is fighting it, saying, I
Hmm.
don't know if it's true. It might be true. That's what happened to me watching Merlin a few years ago. And
Wow,
here
that's
we are.
amazing.
And Merlin
Hmm.
existed and he exists in a different realm. But yeah, it's really cool.
Wow. Oh, it's super cool. You
Yeah.
know, at the start of the year of the dragon that we're in,
Hmm.
I was listening to this guided meditation in which I got to just kind of encounter a couple of different types of dragon.
Yeah.
And there was one moment in the meditation when we get to meet like our special dragon guide for right now. You know, like
Yeah.
whatever the journey is this year, this is who we're going to encounter.
Yeah.
And I met this dragon who she it was like she had her own cave and
Hmm.
she was like ruby colored, you know, so she was like glistening and
Mm.
kind of like dark red, pinkish kind of
Yeah.
dragon.
Yeah.
And she had like an apron and was like cooking. I
That's
know.
so cool.
And I was like, am I intruding? You know, like what's going on here?
Yeah.
And what I took away from it was that a lot of my work for the Year of the Dragon is embracing the energy of like the dragon of home,
Yeah.
you know, of like that level of like protection and care and caring for.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
also, I kind of love in dragon archetypes how like, you know, they hoard their treasure. Like dragons love treasure. You know, so that's
Yeah.
been also like kind of fun to think about like, oh yeah, let me like hoard my pennies and, build up some savings. And like, it's
Yeah,
more fun if you think about it being a dragon trait than like a life skill. It does make it more
yeah,
fun.
it does. Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. That's cool. Yeah. 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 So you learn about different dragons from the deck that you got?
Oh, so the deck that I have that I use, it's called the Animal Spirit deck. It's by Kim Kranz, who does a lot of different,
Okay.
yeah, she's a really cool, creative lady. And the Animal Spirit deck is mostly real animals,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and they're just divided into different types like earth and air and water. But she has
Hmm.
a couple of like spiritual type creatures and energies at the end of the deck. And one of those is
Yeah.
dragon.
Yeah.
And the message of the dragon card is essentially about the self behind the self, like
Mhm. Yeah.
the self that follows us into this lifetime and
Hmm.
stays and watches and,
Yeah.
carries us along its back from time to time.
Yeah.
So, and I definitely feel like this is a year for me in which it feels like there's a lot of like returning to
Hmm.
my own personal truth, returning to knowings that I came into this lifetime with
Hmm.
and like really allowing those things to take root. Like the book that I wrote and my YouTube channel and my creativity courses, they feel very dragon guided.
Yeah.
I feel like I needed that push to really let these
Yeah.
live and like have the confidence to do that.
Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. Yeah. I can tell and feel it. Yeah, because dragon energy is very much go.
Yeah.
Yes, there are fears, but they just go for it and get it done and have fun along the way and teach and learn also from others. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. That's
It's fun to
awesome.
talk about. Yeah.
I know, I know. I watch all kinds of podcast stuff and on YouTube and yeah, I'm always learning. I watch Gaia. Gaia is really good for any type of spiritual stuff. Yeah.
Oh, cool. There's a channel I really like. Like I had the dragon meditation from this woman named her channel is called Reiki Rachel.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And she does a ton of, guided meditation. I use a couple of them like multiple times a week just for energy
Yeah.
clearing and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
sometimes she does channel things and that dragon meditation
That's
was one of
so
hers.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, there's a lady I follow. I don't remember her name by heart. She does light language because
Mm.
I was meditating and then I was speaking something and then my whole body was tingling. I'm like, what the hell? And then I search into dragon light language and I can hear her speak it. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, yeah. It feels home to me. Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, yeah. It's really cool.
Oh, talk about being born open.
Wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because very young, I still feel stuff and see stuff, but yeah, most of what we call dead or not so dead, and my deads, they come to me through mostly dreams.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They know
So
not to
you're a
spook
dreamer
me.
too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When I have visions and connect with them, it's through lots of past lives. Yeah. Yeah. I've had my mom, my dad, and brother and other relatives come through.
Wow, powerful.
Hmm.
Amazing.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, do you connect with like
I think
Atlantean
so.
frequency?
Yeah, yeah, I'm trying to figure out why. I know, well, I don't like water in this lifetime because I drowned in another one.
Oh
But
no.
yeah, there's something about water that is so resonating for me because I don't know why I picked a logo for a podcast that's of water.
Mm,
I love water. It cleanses, it quench, it cleans something that it cleans our energy field, I think as well.
totally.
Yeah, yeah. Because have you ever, when you have a bath or shower, like, wow, that felt so good.
I
I feel
love
so
the
much
water.
better. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's one of the reasons why my arm tattoo is a mermaid tail. Like
yeah,
I love water.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe you were a mermaid. That's so cool.
Maybe I was. That's wild. You
Yeah.
know, I did a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
right after I was diagnosed. So I have an autoimmune disease. I have Hashimoto's, which is a
Oh,
thyroid thing.
yeah,
And when I was sort of like grappling with the diagnosis, I went to an energy healer just to kind of like cleanse the chakras and do some rebalancing and kind of see what
yeah,
else she
yeah,
could find.
yeah.
And it was so interesting. She gave me so much information. I wonder like where my notebook is, where I like wrote everything down.
Yeah,
But one of the things I remember her saying to me from that was she was like, I could see, I went all the way back to Atlantis
yeah.
and I know what happened to you. And she told me, and I kind of, you know, there were
Mhm,
parts of what she told me that I kept very close, that like
mhm.
felt very real.
Yeah.
But I didn't think too much about it until Reiki Rachel actually on her channel, she had a really cool like Atlantean portal
Mhm,
meditation.
mhm.
And I went through it. And in the meditation, you kind of meet yourself
Yeah,
there and they take you on a bit of a tour of and show you things. And it's just a lot of like communication and love. And what
yeah.
I saw there was so interesting to me. It was the same person I had felt before, which
Mhm.
totally makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And what the healer had told me years ago was she said, when everything was crumbling, they actually imprisoned you. You were doing all this work on the codes of the heart. They weren't ready
Mhm.
for it. And you like starved to death in prison. And I was like, oh, but it also makes sense. I've had like some weird stuff about like hunger.
Tell
Again,
me
to the
about
point of our
it.
conversation, but like, yeah, I was just like, oh, what? So I like thought about
Yeah.
that for a really, really long time.
Mhm,
Um, and there's something really powerful too about the idea that like the heart, the
mhm.
work of the heart would be so dangerous to a power structure that it would actually have to be
Yeah,
contained. Like that's
yeah,
crazy. So
yeah.
in this other meditation, I slash she
Mhm,
was sort of like walking me around before
yeah.
everything, when everything was working.
Mhm.
And she took me to this tower where she has her office and she's doing
Oh,
all of these experiments and like learning about creativity and happiness and joy. And then she takes them out into the market and gives them away to people and they
oh, wow.
watches them laugh and play. And she was like, this is, this is, this
Oh,
is it.
wow. That's so
And
cool.
we were like watching laughter as if it were bubbles in the air, kind of like going up and just like rising and rise. It was really quite
Oh, wow.
special. Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
it's crazy to me how like that has definitely informed this iteration of my business with all these things I'm doing
Yeah,
for creativity, like being able
yeah.
to like help kind of like set people free. And
Mhm,
I don't think I've told anybody that before.
mhm.
So there you have it.
Well, sometimes I know more than I tell people. Yeah, yeah, I read people and I know stuff. That's really cool though. And here you are bringing it to this life with you
Yeah.
to pass
Yeah.
on. That's so cool.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Oh, I've seen worse. I've been beheaded, chopped, I don't know, all of it. Like, and yeah, because I've had people, I've interviewed psychics and mediums and many lifetimes they burn you as a witch. And
Mm.
yeah, that's been me. I've been a shaman, all of it. Yeah,
Wow.
you get
No
burned for
kidding.
that. Yeah. And the past life visions that I get, they call it past life regression, but it is. But just all the visions, you feel them. It's not for the faint of heart. Like, you have to be ready. I think my guides are working with me to make sure
Mm.
I'm ready to see what I'm ready to see.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Just I think it was 2 weeks ago. I had a vision of myself being arrowed in the chest.
Mm.
Yeah, right there, and then it went through the back. And then in the vision, I looked down. I was coughing blood, and then I was praying to God, and then that was all I saw.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, what a visual. That's
Oh
so
yeah.
intense.
Yeah, I've had worse. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I think those are all stuff that when we dream about stuff like that, there are things that are coming up for us to work on and heal from. And yeah, And I've met, I think, one or two people in this lifetime that I knew in other lifetimes.
Mm.
Yeah, a lot of karmic
Mm.
clearing that I've been doing. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah, it's a narrow path, very narrow. So yeah,
Totally.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Has there been, what have been, this is a weird question, but like when it comes to your relationship with your spirituality, with the spiritual world,
Mm-hmm.
what have been some of your favorite moments in that relationship? Like, do you have any that you're like,
Ooh.
oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So my first vision was of Jesus' feet. Um, sometimes with different companies, there's the hierarchy. Not to say there's hierarchy on the other side, but with everything I've been through, I've been molded around different religions. So I'm
Mm.
like, I don't care. I don't believe it. Show me, make it happen, then we'll work together. That's how stubborn I am. So they send Jesus to me. I couldn't look up, I couldn't see his face, but I could see his feet. He does wear those sandals and the robe, and there was so much light and love I was looking at. Like I was blinded by part of it. And then I heard from what we call God, which I think all of us are God and part of God. um, yeah, when I was drowning, I saw myself falling backward in a mucky lake, drowning, bubbles coming up, and I drowned. And I said, why did I die here? And he said, because I chose to, because we have free will. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then what else? Oh, my brother, he passed as a baby. For some reason, that was removed from my memory. I don't know if it was too painful. That can happen sometimes.
How old are
Um,
you when that happened?
I was young, maybe 6
Okay.
or
Yeah.
somewhere in between there. Um, my younger brother and sister remember, and I did not remember until 2 years ago when he came to me in a vision.
Mm.
Well, he was staring at my face while I was sleeping. So my third eye, something opened that he was like this close to me looking at me. And then I asked my friend who's a medium, I'm like, what and who was that? Who the hell was that? And she's like, that's your brother, your baby brother that passed. And he looks just like my dad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then my mom
Wow.
coming through, she touched my feet. It's a different feeling because they're spirit. She was giving me strength touching my feet. And then the most crazy recent one was of my dad. He
Mm.
passed in 2020. Relationship was brutal, very toxic homes. And he didn't come through for a bit, but when he passed, I could feel it because he
Mm.
showed up energetically in my room at the time.
Mm.
But the most recent was him giving me a hug.
Oh.
And it felt
Wow.
so good to have a hug because that's what I've always said. I wish I could have a hug before you left or said something.
Mm.
And that's what he did. And he showed me who he was with at the time. Yeah. On the other side, wherever he is. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. I know I had it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I keep a dream journal and lots of different things I just keep like recording dreams and things that happens.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know what to call
Totally.
those because they're not dreams, but
Yeah. Yeah, they are kind of like just visions from a different site,
yeah.
just a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I can tell you're fascinated by that topic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's also it to me it's really this is also I think just part of the landscape of my line of work like in
Mhm.
professional coaching.
Yeah.
There's like, you know, practices and rules and core competencies and ethics and
Mhm.
all these things. And then there's also this presence of the kind of like unknown, unseen,
Mhm.
ethereal connection. And that's the thing that's not teachable and it's not quantifiable.
No.
But when I receive any kinds of like little imagery or anything, especially when I'm in a coaching call,
Yeah.
I've learned to pay attention And
Mhm.
I think what's interesting to me about it is that it sort of makes the coaching about more than just like an intellectual
Yeah.
conversation that we're having. You know, it actually, we really actually open up space for other stuff to come in.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I spent many years not knowing that it was okay to pay attention to that,
Mhm.
you know, especially when I'm like training people in like how to do it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I believe you because
Hmm.
I've interviewed all kinds of people on the podcast, atheist, Christian, Hinduism, and Buddhism, all of it. And I think us having the ability to see past what humanity sees through is going through our spiritual journeys.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because yeah, you gotta kind of evolve to see past it all.
Hmm.
Because yeah, I think I've evolved. I see past skin color, religion, sex, whatever it may be. I'm like, someone's happy, please let them be happy. Go be miserable by yourself. Right?
Totally.
It's Pride Month.
Totally.
It's Pride Month, and I'm celebrating people. They're happy. They feel whole, complete, and they're not harming anybody. What's
Uh-huh.
the problem?
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Right? So I'm all
Yeah.
for happy and for people to connect to source and to find what it's like to be alive because so many of us
Hmm.
are dead.
Yeah,
We're not
totally.
buried, we're walking around, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to that point, um, so last, I guess it was last February, I think. Yeah, it's been over a year. Um, I self-published a book,
Ooh.
and yeah, it's called How to Be Creative in the Age of Digital Noise.
Oh, wow. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Well,
Yeah.
and so much of it is aligned with this thing that you're saying about like just,
Mm,
you know, this kind of like low level hum in the back of
mm,
so many of our minds and our hearts about like just not loving ourselves.
yeah.
And the book is just this very practical, you know, it's a short read, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
intended to have people like take a journal with them and like answer some prompts and do some
Yeah.
self-reflection because so much of it is about just sort of like clearing off the film
Mhm,
that has been imposed upon us by our culture,
mhm.
by the prevalence of social media, by all the stuff that we make up about ourselves because of what we're seeing people do and comparing ourselves. So
Yeah.
that's really what the digital noise part about is like, hey, the internet has really messed with
Oh,
the
yeah.
ideas that we have about what kind of creativity
Mhm.
has value,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that what I wrote about in that book was this honestly like very practical way to kind of just like clear away the dust, you know,
Yeah.
and kind of get back to your connection with yourself because I do think when
Mhm,
we're able to and listen to our own truth, that's usually where the
mhm.
magic really happens and
Yeah.
miracles do happen there. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And that's part of why they used to burn witches and people like me and you. I've been many witches and many past lives. You might have been also,
Maybe.
because when we access our truth, there are those who will try to shut us up. And
Hmm.
I've experienced so many situations, with criticism, judgment not being good enough. I'm like, okay, I'll just do me.
Yeah, totally. This is
I'll
not a
just do
battle to
me.
fight. I'm just gonna move on. I know.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot on West of Wonderland about
Mhm.
the, you know, the impact of capitalism and how
Mhm.
it works kind of in that regard, how it's,
Yeah.
you know, part of the way that a system like capitalism works is that it is like an economic structure that's reinforced by beliefs
Yeah.
and we all have to believe it and
Mhm.
that's how it gets reinforced.
Yeah.
We were actually talking about this recently because we did an episode on the new Disney movie Wish.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you
I've
see
I've
that movie?
watched that 2 times. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we were kind of debriefing it just through the lens of like a conversation about power, basically,
Mhm.
and like the consolidation of power and liberation. And like I think one of the themes that really, it frankly impressed me to watch play out on the screen was to sort of see this figure who just became more and more enamored with what it's like to have power,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then actually have a community come together and say no.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I could so relate to her because that's
Mhm.
what I've felt, suppressed, shut down, and not having my power taken away from me by others,
Mhm.
whether I
Mhm.
give them consent or not. And I
Mhm.
think so many of us have faced or continue to face that. People take away what they want from us, not telling us why, and not being able to give anything back. So we feel empty.
Mhm.
And once you
And
get that power back, it's truly amazing.
totally. I love Asha, and I love her
Mm.
response because we find out early in the movie that,
Yeah.
the king guy, the Magnifico, is like up to no good. And I love her so much because she's just having an honest reaction. She's
Yeah.
like so pure-hearted, and she's like, I love this and I want to go serve this and yada yada yada. And she gets
Mm.
in there and she's like, wait, this isn't what you said it was.
Yeah.
And it's so
Yes.
simple. She just very clearly says what she
Yeah.
sees, and it's that value that
Mhm.
frankly like changes everything.
It does. It does. Yeah. Yeah. And
That's so
there's
cool that
yeah.
she resonated with you. That's
Oh
amazing.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And she could see the truth for what it is.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And she somehow inspired the other people to see it as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love too. This is a total spoiler for any listeners who haven't watched the movie yet. Stop listening right now. But one thing that also I really just really deeply enjoyed was that they gave the queen, they let her have doubts and then take action.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember this? Like she's watching her husband kind of become more and more like power hungry, and you see her being like, honey, I don't know about that, like,
Yeah.
and then like I feel like it takes so much courage to do something like that, because even at the very beginning they're like, oh, the king and his loyal wife, they're really
Yeah.
like laying it on thick, like her loyalty and stuff like that, and then she shows up to help with the sort of like community dismantling of
Yeah.
him,
Yeah.
like how powerful to see a story of a woman in that particular position of power changing her mind
It is. It is.
and
Yeah.
doing something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, she knew something was off and wrong, which can apply to us or life when we know what's up. We just don't do anything.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's when we lose our truth, our self, and our power.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really
And
good movie.
oh, so good. Plus all the fun Disney Easter eggs in it. Like I was having such a good time watching it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, the fairy godmother. Ah!
Yeah.
That was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I know that we're short on time. You have to go soon, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably five-ish minutes.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to share with us before we wrap up?
Well, thank you for having me on. This
You're
was
welcome.
really cool to connect with you like this. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
I think I just want to let everybody know that, like I mentioned, I have a book that you can get called How to Be Creative in the Age of Digital Noise. You can get it on Amazon.
Mhm.
Or I also made this kind of in line with my like Atlantean version of myself. I made this really cool free mini resource called Uncover Your Creative Magic.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's free. It's at laurawestman.com/uncover.
Mhm.
And it'll come straight to your inbox. And it's just this really cool treasure hunt, kind of
Mhm.
taking you through a couple of very loving steps
Mhm.
to just, uncover some more of that
Ooh.
childlike wonder.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really, really quite amazing.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's the scoop. I also have a course available. It's kind of
Mhm.
like the colonic. for your creativity, like literally flush everything out and
Uh,
start over.
mhm,
It's called Creative Clear Out. And
mhm.
there's an invitation to join that at the end of Uncover Your Creative Magic. So it's all really all kind of linked together.
Oh,
Um, but it's really awesome. It's a really nice way to kind of like clear your creative baggage so that you can get back into like an active creative practice and
yeah.
feel confident again.
That's awesome. It's crazy we're talking about Atlantis because I was listening to an Atlantis meditation last night.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Maybe you just called me in.
Could be. It's all right. I'm used to it by now. My guides, they do mess with my head sometimes. So they've given me lots of proof that they're there all the
That
time.
is amazing.
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny for them. So I help them laugh it out.
That's so great.
They do it
I
with
love
me
it.
when I go to the library, when I get books. Oh yeah. They do it when
That's
I'm
so
talking to
awesome.
guests. Yeah. Like,
So great.
okay, okay.
I have
Yeah.
one that has been like very like not so subtly guiding me the last year or so. It's a giant tiger. Just
Mm,
big tiger, big cat, roll around in the sun,
yeah.
like don't work so hard.
Oh
Just be a
wow.
cat.
I've been watching quite a bit of big cat videos for the past however long. And then also I've been seeing lots of turtles
Mm.
on Facebook, on Instagram, everywhere. I'm like, okay, I got it. But yeah,
Message
yeah.
received. That's
Yeah, it
awesome.
is. Yeah. Well, to let you go, before I let you go, I have one last question for you. What is the meaning of life for you?
Mm. Experience as much joy as possible.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Connect,
Mm-hmm.
be here
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Laura, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for bringing back the magic that we all need and deserve.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.